Hello everybody, I have a sad announcement to make. Not quite sad, but you will miss. Now, for this year and last year, I have been doing maths, practicing SATs for all year groups for the past year. And it was very nice and honored to see all of you practicing your maths by watching my videos, helping you improve your scores and everything. It was an honor. I really appreciate it and I wish I could carry on. But sadly, I have been doing this for now, let's see, 20 months, 18 months, 19 months, not sure, but yeah. I started on March 24th, 2024. And here's the status of the last time I posted. And all of these are here. Well, here. And there is a lot more. A lot. When I say a lot more. And it makes me very sad to see that I'm not going to be posting math problems anymore. March 24th for math. And sad thing is, I'm not going to be posting math problems anymore for a very long time. Not anymore. Now, that does not mean I quit. It actually means that I'm going to be starting a new topic. And you won't believe what it is. I'm actually practicing. Well, let's say goodbye to this first. Actually practicing. By the end of year 6, you shall know all how to do these and all of them. Punctuation, capital letters, full stops, question marks, commas, apostrophes, inverted commas, colons, semicolons, nouns, verbs, adjectives, adverbs, pronouns, conjunctions, prepositions, determiners, main clauses, subordinate clauses, relative clauses, passive voice, modal verbs, prefixes, suffixes, synonyms, antonyms, formal language, standard English. Forgot to surprise you, but we are going to be doing, ta-da! SATs English. Just SATs. Just English. No maths, no science, no geography, no reading, nothing. Just English we're going to be learning for this year. And by the end of this term, I will make sure you know all of these. Now, let's tick off the ones that we don't understand. Punctuation, like question marks, exclamation marks, full stops, and inverted commas, basically. Just something you would add at the end of a sentence. Capital letters. Capital letters is a letter that is in at the start. For example, H. He was sad. You would always add a capital letter at the start of a sentence, or not just that, or if it's a proper noun. Proper noun is someone's name. So you would only need capital letters in a noun, pronoun, and start of a sentence. Well, you don't always need it in pronouns, but I mean proper nouns. Full stops are the same as punctuation. You should know that by year 6. Question marks, like we mentioned. Commas are those little, like curvy. It's like a full stop, but curvy. So full stop, curvy, to make a comma. A comma is when you use after a fronted adverbial, or anything. You use it for a list or to separate something from something else. Apostrophes. This is pretty tricky for some people. For example, apostrophe, you can use it for when it comes to contracted words. You would need apostrophe here. An apostrophe, when it comes to contracted words, replaces the missing letter with an apostrophe, which is this. Or it could also be, let's think of one. Let's say flowers. Flowers, leaf. for example, we're going to need an apostrophe here because the leaf is owned by the flower. And you would always use it before the S. But just because you use it before the S, every apostrophe you see does not mean that every word that has an S at the end deserves an apostrophe. Inverted commas is the one I showed you. These little stuff that you use in speech. Colons, it shows an example here. So a colon is something that, basically, a colon are two dots vertically aligned, like it's expressing something, like, today I had soup, and then you have the colon after had to express something. Semicolons is like a colon, but the bottom dot is like a comma. They call it that because it's half a dot, and semi means half of, like half of a circle, and a dot is a circle, and the comma is like half of the circle. So that's why they call it that. Nouns, I already went through that. Name, place, or thing. Verb is a doing word, like I played with the ball. Played is the verb. Adjectives is something that describes a noun. For example, the pretty beach. Adverb is pretty tricky, I'd say. It's pretty tricky. I sometimes get mixed up with it. And so you can see here it says add, and what else has add in it? Adjective. So it's telling us that basically, and there's verb also, and there's a verb here. So adverb. So add is adjective, verb is just verb. So that means it describes a verb. So for example, slowly he walked down the field. Pronouns is what you refer to someone. For example, instead of the boy, you would say, for example, Mia went to school. Mia did some learning. Instead of using Mia for the second sentence, you would use she did some learning. Conjunctions are, the easiest I can remember conjunctions is I saw a woodbulb and fan boys. They each stand for something, which is an acronym, because acronyms are something that stands for something, if you know what I mean. We'll go through that a bit more if you're still confused. Prepositions is where something is in relation to something else. For example, the ball was next to the cat. Determiners are something, is a word that is before the noun. For example, the ball was kicked by Aisha. The is the determiner because it's before a noun. The ball's the noun. Main clause is a clause or a sentence or phrase that makes sense on its own. Subordinate clause is a sentence or phrase that does not make sense on its own. For example, she was at the park. He didn't know where she was. The main clause is she was at the park because it makes sense on its own. No questions are asked. He didn't know where she was is a subordinate clause because who do you not know where she was and what are you talking about? A relative clause is, so a relative pronoun. A relative pronoun is who, what, who, no, not what, who, whom, and others. For example, you would use it to add extra information. It's kind of similar to parenthesis because it's small brackets, small punctuation that you add extra information to. So relative clause, so if a relative pronoun is whom, a relative clause is a clause or sentence, like a small little phrase that has the word whom, who, those type of words. I'll go through it, it's hard to explain. Passive voice I used earlier is when Passive voice is when something is being done by the action. For example, the cat was chased by the dog. There's also something else called active voice, where it's, for example, the dog was being chased by the cat. Not being, because when it comes to active and passive voice, you cannot add or change any words there. You have to keep it the same but swapped around. Modal verbs are like might, could, should have, those type of words. Kind of like contracted words. Prefixes. Pre means beginning. So, prefix is something, a small word that is used at the start. For example, let's think of fol. Fol is a suffix because it's at the end. A prefix you can add to fol is beautiful. Synonyms are something that is the same or similar. Antonyms is something opposite, not the same, completely opposite. Formal language is when you write to a stranger you don't know, or for example you're writing to the king, so you have to use very, very posh words. One rule in formal language is that you cannot use any contracted words as it's not formal. And the opposite word for formal is informal. Standard English is like formal language, where you speak in standard English. I hope going through all of this will help you realize what I'm going to be teaching you. There's more stuff I will be teaching you, like active voice and relative pronouns and stuff like that. But these are majority of the stuff I will probably be teaching you a lot about. If I missed any of these, please mention them in the comments and I will go through them in my other video. I hope you have a clue of what we will be learning in SATS English, and next year, because year 6 will be in year 7, I'll be teaching year 7 math and English. But obviously, instead of doing year 7 math, I'm going to be doing year 7 English until, June 8, 2026. After that, I will be available for SATS math, and then it'll continue going like that until everyone turns into grown-ups. Thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you understand what we will be doing, and I'm very, very happy and keen to teach you guys about English.